the fall, running away when I'd hear you call. But Father, you worked your will. And I had no righteousness of my own. I had no right to draw near your throne. Father, you loved me still. And in your love, before you laid the world's foundation, you determined to adopt me as your own. You have raised me up so high above my station. I'm a child of God by grace and grace alone. Left your home to seek out the lost. You knew the great and terrible cost. But Jesus, your face was set. And I worked my fingers down to the bone. Nothing I did could ever atone. Jesus, you paid my debt. By your blood I have redemption and salvation. Lord, you died that I might reap what you have sown. And you rose that I might be a new creation. I am born again by grace and grace alone. I was in darkness all of my life. I never knew the day from the night. Spirit, you made me see. I swore I knew the way on my own. Head full of rocks, a heart made of stone. Spirit, you moved in me. At your touch, my sleeping spirit was awakened. On my darkened heart, the light of Christ is shone. Called into a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Heaven's citizen by grace and grace alone. So I stand in faith by grace and grace alone. I will run the race by grace and grace alone. I will slay my sin by grace and grace alone. I will reach the end by grace and grace alone. Father's dream, he only looks on me with pride. Always so kind to me, he says I'm perfect in his eyes. Why should I ever doubt it? He won't ever change his mind. Oh, 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 only ever good. Only ever good, only ever good. Only ever good to me. Only ever good, only ever good. Only ever good to me. That's all you've ever been. That's all you're gonna be. Only ever good, only ever good. Only ever good to me. I am my Father's dream. He only sees me with delight. My innocence redeemed, reputation reconciled. Prize of his suffering bought me with the blood of Christ. Oh, 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 only ever good. Only ever good, only ever good. Only ever good to me. sing that again. Only ever good, only ever good, only ever good to me. Only ever good, only ever good, only ever good to me. That's all you've ever been, that's all you're gonna be. Only ever good, only ever good, only ever good to me. Good to me. So good, so good, so good, so good. It's your nature, you can't help it. What could stop all your goodness? Since forever you've been like this. What could stop all your goodness? Come on, sing it out. It's your nature, you can't help it. What could stop all your goodness? Since forever you've been like this. What could stop all your goodness? It's your nature, you can't help it. What could stop all your goodness? Since forever, oh, you've been like this. What could stop all your goodness? Only ever good, only ever good, only ever good to me. You're only ever good, only ever good, only ever good to me. That's all you've ever been, that's all you're gonna be. That's all you've ever been, that's all you're gonna be. That's all you've ever been. You're only ever good, only ever good, only ever good to me. You're only ever good, only ever good, only ever good to me. That's all you've ever been, that's all you're gonna be. Only ever good, only ever good, you're only ever good to me. Well, you're good, so good to me. And it's your nature, you can't help it. What could stop all your goodness? Since forever, oh, you've been like this. What could stop all your goodness? You're still the rock that I cling to when everything else falls apart. You're still the one that I'm building on, the reason my hope's never lost. Oh, you're the reason my hope's never lost. And you'll come through now like you did back then, time and time and time again. Almighty fortress, my defense, time and time and time again. Oh, time and time and time again. Nothing has ever been wasted. 'cause there's nothing that you won't restore. As the waters rise, I lift up my eyes to where my help's coming from. Oh Jesus, you're where my help's coming from. You come through now like you did back then, time and time and time again. Almighty fortress, my defense, time and time and time again. Oh, time and time and time. You put a new song in my mouth. You gave me something to say about. You set my feet upon that rock. I'm standing on your goodness, God. You put a new song in my mouth. You gave me something to say about. You set my feet upon that rock. I'm standing on your goodness, God. You come through now like you did back then, time and time and time again. Almighty fortress, my defense, time and time and time. You come through now like you did back then, time and time and time again. Almighty fortress, my defense, time and time and time again. Oh, time and time and time again. You come through now like you did back then, time and time and time again. Almighty fortress, my defense, time and time and time again. Today we sing to the God who never gives up on us. Through every failure, misstep, mistake, regret, God, you stay the same. Your love for us never changes. Your belief in us never changes. God, you have never failed to love us. You have never failed to be there for us. Your love follows us to the ends of the earth, God. And because you have everything we need, God, we follow you in your ways and in your goodness. Into the quietness of your grace, away from the noise of my mistakes. As you lead me in ways that make me whole. Till I walk in paths that restore my soul. wherever you go. Wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. Wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. I will follow you. Into the wildness of your grace. Away from the safety of my restraints. Oh, you lead me, as you lead me in ways that make me strong. Till I walk in paths where I belong. And wherever you go, wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. Wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. I will follow you. Right here beside you. Everything I need. Oh, Jesus. Goodness and mercy. Following me. Oh, right here, right now. Right here beside you. Oh, I've got everything I need. Oh, Jesus. Goodness and mercy. They are following me. Wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. Wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. I will follow you. Wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. Wherever you go, I know I will follow. I will follow you. I will follow you.
I was just thinking about like the arc of these songs that we've been singing and how good it is for me to reset in this morning. And so as we start, we're talking about just the grace of God, and it's His grace that pursues us. Talking about His character, His love, and His goodness, like that's all He can be. And He is so faithful. There's nothing about God that will change. And then as we're soaking these things in, it leads to this progression where we say, if that's who God is, then I want to follow Him. And the imagery of this song, just saying, okay, I want to be on this journey where I'm doing my absolute best to follow Jesus. And I'm trusting not in my way, in my leadership for my life, but trusting in His leadership. And as we do that, just the concept that it takes us to the places that are best for us, the places that we need to be, the places that we would not take ourselves on our own. And yet at the same time, as many of us have experienced that, one of the things that I know in my own journey is that sometimes when it comes to following Jesus, it's also not as like instinctive or as intuitive as I wish it would be. Like it doesn't start with day one and you know exactly how to value the things that Jesus values, how to let go of the things that He says these don't matter as much. as we often say around here, following Jesus is this journey where we're learning along the way. We pick things up as we go. And as a result of that, one of the things that we know is that it is important to be learning what it looks like to follow Jesus and how to do that as best as we can. And that's why today we're kicking off a series that we're going to be in for this summer. And the series is called Field Notes, Vital Information on Your Journey of Faith. And we're really looking forward to this. And in fact, a number of us on our pastoral team over the last several months, we've been praying about this. We've been dreaming about this. We've been just excited about the things that we're going to cover in this series because we think that it's going to really shape us, not just as individuals, but as a church community. And so we're looking forward just to this series and the ways that these different messages are going to impact our lives. And one of the things that I know is that it's going to be great because each message is going to be a little bit of like a standalone topic, and that'll be good for summer schedules. But what I would encourage us is as much as we possibly can this summer, lean into gathering here on the weekend. Lean in to just to going, hey, I want to be a part of this as we are shaped as followers of Jesus and learning about his way. And so as we dive into that this morning, we just figured, hey, we're going to have a great time and just throw a party this weekend to make it as big of a fun experience as we can. And so a little bit later on, you're going to head out and you're going to get some tacos, because why not? Like, we could do that. Our kids are experiencing like their move-up weekend. So kids and teens have got fun things. You might have walked by, you're like, is that a dunk tank outside? Yeah, it is. And so they're going to have some fun with that. Kids just got out of school a few days ago. We've had high school graduations and things like that. And so that leads me to a question I've got before you take a seat. I wonder, speaking of the high school graduations, if you can think back and you remember, hey, what was your high school mascot? Right? And so some of you are like, that was just a few years ago, I got it. Others, you're like, I don't remember. I'm going to make something up right now. And that's okay too. But what we love to have you do is turn to somebody nearby, introduce yourself, say hey, and ask them what their high school mascot was. Go for it. All right. Well, what a beautiful, beautiful weekend. So good to be around here. And I'm so glad that you joined us this morning as we kick off summer. Once upon a time, I had a friend tell me that orange was not my color. And from that day on, I've been trying to prove him wrong. Hey, another thing that why not, as you head out after service, we've got these Terra Nova branded sunglasses. And so you're going to grab some of those a little bit later on. Yeah, we're just having some fun this summer. And I'm so glad that you joined us today. I didn't mention this a moment ago. My name is Scott, and I just really want to welcome you. I thank you so much for hanging with us. And if you happen to be newer to Terra Nova, maybe it's one of your first times with us, we just know when you go anywhere for the first time, it can feel a little like, okay, what's this going to be like? And what are the people going to be like there? And I'm just so glad that you're our guest this morning. And I hope you have a wonderful experience. And probably one of the things that you got on your way in is this program. We use this program to communicate a lot of different things that are coming up around Terra Nova. And so you could take it, you can open it up. One of the things you'll find in there is this flyer. We've got a number of things coming up, but our VBS for our kids is like right around the corner. So if you've got kids or grandkids or neighbors with kids and they're not signed up, like now is the time to do that. It's going to be a highlight of the summer for our kids. And so you can get them in play with that. But as you're looking through that program, what I'd love to invite you to do is to open it up, and you'll find the section at the back where there's this perforated section that we call our Connect card. And one of the things we invite everybody to do every weekend is to fold that guy over, tear it off, and fill it out. Like I said, we love getting a card from everybody every weekend. And again, especially if you're here as a guest, that would just mean a lot. Give us a chance to thank you and follow up with you with any questions you've got. And so with that Connect card, fill out as much of that as you feel comfortable sharing. If there are things that we could support you in or pray for, please indicate those. There's some blank space on the back. Again, if there's more information you like about anything, then you can check some of those boxes. But like I said, we'd love to get that from everybody. And so we'll collect those a little bit later on towards the end of the gathering. And as you look through that program, you're going to see a number of different things that we've got coming up all throughout the summer. But there are like two things that are right around the corner that I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss out on. And so speaking of that flyer with VBS on one side, on the other side of that, you're going to see those two things I want to hit. And the first is what's happening next weekend. So next weekend is Father's Day weekend, and we just love creating a celebration for just about everything that we can. But we're going to have a great time throwing a party for dads. And so we've got our Saturday night service at 5 o'clock. After that, we've got Wingstop wings and fries. And so that's a great time to come out for that if you've never been to Saturday night. Or if you're here on next Sunday morning, our barbecue team, which does an incredible job with any kind of meal, they're going to be cooking a great breakfast next Sunday morning before both of our services. And so that's going to be a great time. Giveaways and prizes and things to honor dads next week. And so we're looking forward to that. That's, again, next week. But 2 weeks from now, we've actually got something I want to make sure that you do not miss out on. You don't go I never heard about that. And that is our summer service time change. And so one of the things that means is that 2 weeks from now, on that Saturday night, our Saturday night service is going to be taking a break for the summer. And so we've got our 5 p.m. service. We've got one more week of that for Father's Day weekend. But then beginning June 21st, our Saturday night service is going to take a break. There are going to be some things that you see during Saturday nights throughout the summer, creating connection and opportunities just to have some fun. But our Sunday morning services are going to shift. So currently, our services are at 9:30 and 11, but beginning on Sunday, June 22nd, that's going to shift to 9 and 10:30. Those will now be 9 and 10:30. Let's do that together. What time are they going to be? 9 and 10:30. You rolled your eyes, but you did it, right? So it's 9 and 10:30. And so don't say that nobody ever told you that, right? And so 9 and 10:30 beginning Sunday, June 22nd. And that will be a great way for us to make the most of those long summer days, be able to have a lot of fun afterwards. But we're going to shift to 9 and 10:30 beginning Sunday, June 22nd. And if you're like, man, I got to get up a little bit earlier, if you need a jump start, we've got cold brew that we'll have all summer long just to make that a little bit easier. And if you need more than that, I can't help you. You need to just get up. You can do it. You can handle it, all right? So we're looking forward to that and just think it's going to be a lot of fun to be all together beginning 9 and 10:30 in 2 weeks from today. But once more, it's going to be a great celebration today. I'm so glad that you're here. And right now, we're going to kick off the series I was mentioning, a series that I think is going to be so important for our church community. And so let's dive into part 1 of Field Notes, Vital Information for Your Journey of Faith.
Well, hey, some of you who know me know that I'm an outdoorsy guy. And so when I saw this video for the first time, it kind of got me excited. I really kind of resonated with it. You know, the guy, he's got his gear, he's all packed up. And so it motivated me to actually show you some of the things that I bring when I'm on the trail. So I got my backpack here. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up and tell you about some of the items that I've got inside here. So first and foremost is that you need to bring water, okay? You need to stay properly hydrated. There's a smart water bottle. You don't need to go to a fancy gear shop to get that. You can get that at your local grocery store. So if you need one, that you got one of that. Also got in this bag, I've got what I call my 10 essentials. It's in a waterproof bag, actually. And these are 10 items where if you combine this and the water, is that I could survive for days. With these two things plus a nearby Costco, I could survive for days. And then we've also got Let's see, inside here is that we've got, I got a map here. Always want to bring a map, really important to kind of have the map, know where it is you're going. And also, I've got a guidebook. So I've got a big old guidebook, and that is helpful as well. And I got to tell you is I've got bunches and bunches of maps and guidebooks, tons of them. So many so that it's actually created some tension in our home. And let me tell you why. The reason why is because it's been springtime, and during the spring season, as Dana and I have been decluttering, and it's gone mostly well, except for the things that Dana has to have and hangs on to. Like this thing here. Does anybody know what this is? Oh yeah, it's an ice cream maker, right? And you just need to know that this thing has not been used for decades, and it's taking up prime space in my garage, right? So I so want to throw this thing out. But then Dana says, okay, well, fine. If we're getting rid of that, is that we need to get rid of all the books that you have, all the guidebooks that you have, and that big stack of maps that you have, on the fourth shelf to the left, down at the bottom. We need to get rid of that. And then she asked me, says, why do you have so many of these things anyway? And I thought about it. And I answered this way: because of childhood trauma. Yeah, it's actually true. Some childhood trauma that I experienced and did not have a paid therapist uncover this for me and help me work me through this. I'm self-diagnosed, okay, full disclosure, but there's some child trauma, and it kind of worked like this. When I was 5 years old, our family of 6 went on a hike, and we lost our way. We got off the trail, got turned around, we went this way and that way, and it was getting dark. And my 5-year-old brain thought, the big people, my mom and dad, they don't know what they're doing. And they didn't bring a map, and they didn't bring a guidebook. And I gotta tell you is that once, it was really only about an hour or so that we were lost, but to me it felt like an eternity, and it was terrifying. We finally figured out how to get back on trail and back to the car, but the damage was done internally. And I suppose that then what drew me to amassing a collection of things like this is because as a child is that I wanted to make sure that this would never happen again. You see, what dawned on me is probably the same thing that's dawned on you. It's easy to lose your way in life. It's easy to lose your way in the different areas of your life, but also in the most important part of your life, which is your spiritual life, the spiritual part of you. That thing that is the real you, that is eternal, that the scriptures call your soul. So Jesus said something about the soul this way in Mark chapter 8, verse 34. He said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. And then he says this: what good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul, or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? Now what Jesus is getting at is you need to assign top priority to your soul. It's the most important thing. Losing your soul, this would not be good. You see, it's never good to lose your soul, just in the same ways that it's never good to lose your way. But think about your spiritual life, how to do it well, how to do it right. It's kind of easy to lose your way. Because you see, there's so many messages out there, there's so many ideas out there, there's so many paths out there that pertain to our inner life. We're told to read this book, or to follow this teacher, or to go to this church, but not that church. We're told to download this app, or to check out this website, or to engage in some spiritual practices. Like go ahead and do a 24-hour fast, or do a 40-day fast, or go take a silent retreat in a monastery, or, here's the latest thing. Have you heard of the darkness retreat? The 72-hour darkness retreat where you go to a place and they put you in a room and it's completely dark for 3 days, trying to figure it all out, right? All these things that are out there, so many paths, and so how how do we travel through our lives, our spiritual lives, on a course where we encounter the living God and enter into the real life, the life that God desires for us? Well, that's what this series is all about. It's going to be you and I picking up field notes for our journey to make sure that our souls are in a good place, moving towards being more healthy and whole spiritually. And what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be exploring an ancient path. It's the ancient path of biblical faith that has brought life and meaning and blessing and purpose to people living throughout the centuries and also in every corner of the globe. So it's field notes that are field tested, time tested. They work, folks. They work, and that's what we're going to be doing, looking at biblical faith. And if we're talking about faith, is that I can think of no better person for us to begin with and learn from than a guy named Abraham. Abraham. We're going to focus on his story and his life, and then we're going to pick up a couple of field notes for our journey. And here's why it's important. And you know why. Because it's easy to lose your way or to stall out on your spiritual journey. And by the way, to be sure is that all of us are on a spiritual journey, whether we call ourselves a Christian or a follower of Jesus, or we're just trying to decide what it is that we think about God or the Bible and Christianity. And I think Abraham's story is going to lead us into something that is so incredible. It's just something that's so rich and so powerful and so beautiful. It's something that I bet you want. And I just call it the X. It's going to lead us to the X. When we see a map like this, is that we know what this X signifies. Is this X is it's the destination, right? This X is the objective. Okay, it's where it is that we want to go. And you know what? Is that you and I, each one of us, all have an X. Our X is just kind of how we want our lives to end up. That's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be discovering that X, and God has a beautiful X for us that we're going to discover. We're going to arrive at that in a little while this morning. But for now, I want us to go ahead and start at the beginning of the Bible, known as the book of Genesis. And as we would take the book of Genesis, first book in the Bible, and open it up, is that you would see this amazing world that God had created. And then it falls. It suffers the effects of human beings choosing to become the center of their own moral universe. And this world that was once a place created very good is increasingly wrecked and broken. And you can follow the chapters of the Genesis story that details this downward spiral where things go from bad to worse. Human beings acting on their own dysfunction and sin. And in the story, in fact, in chapter 4, is that we find Eve gives birth to children. And then we find that when these children grow up, is that one of them kills the other. In chapters 6 and 7, we see wickedness growing exponentially, and so a flood wipes out the earth. Animals ride on an ark, but sin also stows away on that boat as the descendants of Noah move people once again to ruin, where idol worship is everywhere and chaos reigns. And it looks like the planet is spinning hopelessly out of control. And when it reaches that moment, we have a ray of light. God makes a big move. God decides that he's going to rescue his world. He's going to save his world. And in order to do that, he's going to choose one man, one family, and he's going to say to them, I'm going to live in community with you. I'm going to train you to live fully absorbed in this life with me. And he does this through a man named Abraham. So I'm going to be referring to him, by the way, as Abraham. His name means father of the multitudes. But as we meet him, he's known as Abram. That name means exalted father. Now, the strange thing is, when we meet him, he's the father to no one. His wife is barren. He has no kids. But we're introduced to him as the son of a man named Terah, who is from a place called Ur of the Chaldees, going to a place called Haran. So let's take a look at Genesis chapter 11, verse 31. It speaks of Terah, and it says, Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot of Haran and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan, but when they came to Haran, they settled there. Okay, so here we've got Abram, also known as Abraham. We've got Sarai, also known as Sarah. We've got Lot, that was Abraham's nephew, led by Terah. They migrate from what was modern-day Iraq to modern-day Turkey. And so here's a map of what it looks like. All right, so they're here, beginning in the Ur of the Chaldees. Their objective is the land of Canaan. And you would think, well, why don't they just go straight shot and just go direct west? They could get there a lot quicker on their route. But the reason why they don't do that is because all of this is desert. They couldn't survive such a journey. They would all die of thirst along the way. And so instead is that they kind of move in this big arc going up through the Tigris and Euphrates River, moving, and that they're moving towards what is we know as the Fertile Crescent. It's a place where there's a water sources. The good news is there's lots of water. The bad news is that, as you can see, is that it would take them twice as long. The journey is twice as long. And for some reason, and we don't know why, is that the journey stalls out at a place called Haran. And now, Ur of the Chaldeans and Haran are actually very similar places. Both of them are places of commerce. They're both urban places, and they're also places that were notably idolatrous, rebellious, and immoral. And so this is where Abraham comes from. He comes from a family that was polytheistic, idol-worshiping, pretty worldly, which is, of course, bad. But it appears the family is wealthy, which is, of course, good. However, he's 75 and he's never had any children, which is, of course, bad. But his wife is a knockout, famously beautiful, which is, of course, good. So you see, his story is a bit like our story, right? It's good and bad. It's a mixture of good and bad. We talked a little bit about that last weekend, didn't we, as we concluded our Mind Trap series about this whole idea. So that's what you need to know. Here's one other thing that you need to know, is that if Abraham wanted to find out about this God that created everything, is that he didn't have a church to go to or a Bible to read. And the last time God spoke to anyone was to Noah centuries ago. Well, he's going to encounter God as we turn the page to the next chapter. Before we do, here's a field note for us, and it's very simple. Field note number one is this, is just to start where you're at. Start where you were at. And you know, all of us come with a history. All of us come with a background. We got a family background, we've got an educational background, and we've also got a spiritual background. And you may think, you know, in order to have this spiritual journey, this journey with God, is that you need to have a stellar background instead of a broken, messy one. So if you think that, I would just invite you to reconsider that idea. Because you see, wherever you're at, is that you can start to seek God, to find God, to follow God, or maybe in your case, to maybe re-follow God if you've been away from God for a while. See, you can do that regardless of your background. I mean, think about Abraham. Is that Abraham started out worldly, pagan, and vulnerable. I mean, his background was his background, but it appears that he didn't make that an excuse for him to stay static, for him to stay the same. And things would never be the same, by the way, because God shows up in his life. In the next chapter, Genesis chapter 12, we read this in verse 1. It says, "The Lord had said to Abram, 'Leave your country, your people and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you.'" Now, God shows up to Abram, and we have no idea about what that looks like, right? We don't know how, it looks when God appears. All we know is what God says. All we know is what he speaks. And as God speaks to Abraham is that he doesn't give him a list of rules or he doesn't give him a lecture. He simply tells him to go. He says, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land that I'm going to show you. In other words, he's saying to Abraham, leave everything you know, your comfort zone, your family, your roots to the land that I will show you. Not going to give you a map, not going to give you a compass, and I'll just tell you when you get there. And then God makes a promise to Abraham. Actually, it's a threefold promise. So the first part of the promise here is that he says that I will make you into a great nation. I'll make you into a great nation. So, question for you. Have you ever heard of the nation Israel? Ever heard that nation? Okay, so you've heard it. Okay, so have you ever heard of like Arab nations like Syria and Lebanon and Egypt? You've heard of some of those nations, the Arab nations, okay? So all these nations trace their lineage back to this childless man, which is amazing. So that's the first part of the promise, okay? God made a promise. It seems that God has kept that promise. He then, second part of the promise, he says, I will make your name great. I'll make your name great. Now, let me ask you this. Has anybody heard of the name Abraham before they walked in today? Yeah, everybody has, right? I mean, we've heard of it. It's amazing, isn't it? Like, 4,000 years later is that we've still heard of that name. His name is great. So you've heard of Abraham, and you've heard his name. I'm wondering if you've ever heard of this guy. Have you ever heard of the name Sulji? Here's Sulji. He's the son of Ur-Namah, and Sulji was the king of Ur right around the time that Abraham lived there, possibly, because he reigned for 46 years, long period of time. But now here's the thing, is that when husbands and wives get pregnant, and that they find out that they're going to have a little boy, and then they go find one of those baby name books, and they begin, talking about that. Okay, this name doesn't come up. Right? I mean, if you met, some kid, named Sulgi, you probably haven't met him. And it's amazing because here's the thing, is that back 4,000 years ago in 2000 BC, is that Sulgi was a big deal. He was famous, and you never heard of him. Is that Abraham was a nobody back then, and everybody's heard of him. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because most recently is that Abraham's name comes up in world affairs, hasn't it? You've heard of the Abraham Accords, where we're trying to get peace in the Middle East by acknowledging Abraham as an important figure for Jews and Christians and Muslims. Okay, so here comes the third part of the promise. The third part of the promise, and this is probably the most powerful one to me. He says, okay, so here's the third part, and it is that all the nations of the earth will be blessed through you. He says, hey, Abraham, is that I'm going to bless those who bless you. I'm going to curse those who curse you. It's his way of saying, you know what? I got your back. I'm going to protect you. And then all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you. All the nations, all the people groups on earth are going to be blessed. They're going to be better because of you. The whole earth is this messed up place. It's all going to be better because of Abraham. See, God says, Abraham, something's going to happen through you, through your family, through your nation. I've got to plan it all. I'm going to bless all the families, all the nations on earth through you. And so it is that we can follow the arc of Abraham's descendants all the way from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and we discover that Jesus is from Abraham's line. And then he is the one that brings the blessing of being loved by God and known by God and saved by God and redeemed by God. See, Abraham was blessed to be a blessing, and ultimately through Abraham's line is that God wants to bless all the peoples, all the nations everywhere through Jesus. And so Abram went as the Lord told him, and Lot, his nephew, went with him. So here we got a 75-year-old guy who bets the farm on God with more questions than answers, to be sure, with more to lose than to gain, is that he leaves everything behind. I mean, he leaves civilization behind, and he begins his journey. And he forever then becomes this model, or we would say this archetype of the kind of relationship God wants to have with us based on faith. In other words, our faith journey should resemble Abraham's faith journey. And in the New Testament, the writer of the book of Hebrews says it this way. He says, by faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land, the land of Canaan. Like a stranger in a foreign country, he lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, his son and his grandson, who were heirs with him of the same promise. Okay, so we see this is the thing that drives him. It's faith that drives him. Faith. And then please understand is that when we say the word faith, it's just a spiritual word for where you put your trust. And think about it where Abraham was at. God shows up and yet he's got no Bible to read. He's got no church to go to. He's living in a place full of idols. He's never heard of anybody that's had an encounter with God. And God says, go. He says, leave. He says, Abraham, you've got to trust me on this one. And Abraham does. And that leads us to field number 2, the second one. And that's just simply this, is to go with what you know. It's to go with what you know. You see, often in our faith journey is that we think that we need to know more before we get into motion. I mean, we say to ourselves, I'm really ready to trust God. I'm really ready to obey his leading. But I just need to know a little bit more. I just need to have a little bit more information. And yet, this is not Abraham's story. I mean, he didn't know much. All he knows is that God says go, and so he does. And then in the chapters to come, is that we see Abraham packing up, leaving Haran, destination Canaan, and it just becomes this epic adventure. I mean, it's a journey where he's on the road, he's outdoorsy, he's living in tents, he's living the REI life, right? It's a journey where he enters a land stricken by famine. It's a journey where he's surrounded by powerful men who want to sleep with his wife. It's a journey where he has to rescue his not so bright nephew Lot on a couple of occasions. It's also a journey where he encounters mysterious leaders that may have been beyond human. It's a journey where his faith is tested, and he waits for many years for a child to be born, many years for him to realize his namesake as exalted Father. And it's a journey also where he has to feel the pain of his own personal missteps and sins. Now, you can call this journey whatever it is that you like, just don't call it boring. And since Abraham's spiritual journey is an archetype or a model of the type of spiritual journey that you and I need to have, is that here's what we learn about the journey of faith. When it comes to the journey of faith, if you're bored, you're probably doing it wrong. Plain and simple, right? And so we got to talk about this because, boredom is a problem, right? I mean, it's a problem. God has not called us to live a boring life, and yet boredom is a problem. Okay, so go ahead and raise your hand if you get bored from time to time. Because sometimes I get bored. Okay, raise them. Sometimes I get bored. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, go ahead and raise your hand if you've ever been bored at church. Okay, so go ahead and raise your hand. Go. Okay, thank you, Rena. Yep, you got to do it. Okay, go ahead and raise your hand if you're bored right now. No, don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. So yeah, boredom is a problem, and as we roll into summer, we're doing this great, summer kickoff. Gonna get our free shades, eat our tacos, dunk tank. Kids are moving up. Some of you have kids, and some of you know that you're entering in to a season of life where your kids are out of school, and some of them may have recently got out of school. And here's how it works: is that for a few weeks or maybe a few days, is that they're going to be fine, but then they're going to come to you and they're going to complain that they're bored. Mom, Dad, I'm bored. What are you going to do with that, right? I mean, you really love, your kid to take some responsibility, some personal responsibility for their life. They're not going to. It's okay. And so you're just going to have to coach them up. You're going to have to coach them up. And so you're just going to have to sit down with your kids, and you're just going to have to tell them this. And it's just very simple. Is that boredom ends when motion begins. Just tell them that. Hey, boredom ends when motion begins. So get off your rump, and go out and get going, right? And it's true not for kids, but it's also true for all of us, is that boredom ends when motion begins. So understand is that it is not going to be boring if you start where you're at and then go with what you know. In motion, with and placing faith and trust and belief in God. And if you do, you're going to love the result. You're going to love the outcome. Remember we were talking about the X on the map? You know, that X is the destination, you know, the X marks the spot, you know, like on the treasure map. You know, it's this idea about where you want your life to end up. And maybe you've thought about that, dreamed about it, is that, you know, where do I want my life to end up? You know, where is that? What's the destination? And so I see in Abraham's life through the scriptures, there's this beautiful X, this beautiful destination that I bet that you'd want to choose as your X, your destination, your outcome in life. Okay, so it's in the New Testament, in the book of James, it's the last scripture that we'll read here, and it says this, and it says, and the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. Okay, it says Abraham believed God. He put his faith and trust in God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. And then let's go ahead and read the final phrase together. Okay, you want to do it? Okay, ready? And he was called God's friend. I want to try it one more time. And he was called God's friend. Yeah, that's what they called him. That's what they called him. Now, this might be a new idea for you. I mean, maybe you didn't think a friendship with God was even possible because God just seems so big and so distant. And yet here it is. And you know, the writer James, he didn't come up with this on his own. As he's writing to Jewish background believers in the first century, and as the leader of the early Jesus movement, he, of course, was a man that was familiar with Torah, was familiar with what we know as the Old Testament, and he was familiar with what was written about Abraham in the Old Testament. And so he's just telling these guys, hey, remember his Jewish audience, by the way, they were Jewish background as well. He says that's what Isaiah said about Abraham in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 8. And that's what King Jehoshaphat said about Abraham in 2 Chronicles 20, verse 7. He said he became God's friend. He was called God's friend. And you know, when we take a look at this, being God's friend, I mean, it really jumps out to us, doesn't it? And it's because is that we all know the critical role that friendship plays for each one of us, don't we? I mean, we all know how having good friends is just such a huge part of what our hopes are for our life's journey. I mean, think about your own relational circles. Go ahead and take a look at the way that this is mapped out. Is that it all kinds of starts off broad and big, right? You know, with just our relational capacity. Is that for most of us, we have about 1,500 faces that we can actually recognize and say, oh yeah, I know who that is. And then about 500 acquaintances, you know, people that are within our relational orbit. But then we move to about 100 casual friends. That's what we can manage. 35 good friends, maybe 10 best friends, and then there's the inner circle. There's the inner circle, and we know that the inner circle is the thing that really counts, right? Within that circle are people that get us, and we're safe with them, and we enjoy them, and we know that they enjoy us, and so for many of us, we have this longing for people to be in the inner circle. And then there's this idea, could God perhaps be in that circle? Could God be that kind of friend? And maybe you're thinking, you know, I'd love to have a relationship with God that looks like that, where we're actually friends, that I could really begin to trust God and bring some things to God like one friend would to another. And you know what those kind of things might look like. Maybe it's your finances. Or maybe it's your marriage challenges, or maybe it's your career path, or maybe it's what's going on with your kids, or maybe it's the eternity of someone that you care about that you're really invested in. It's being able to have the type of relationship with God where you're able to bring those things to God and saying, God, can we do these things together? Can we do these things together as friends? And see, all of these things are a part or should be a part of our spiritual life. And perhaps you've heard that, you may have heard this phrase, is that, hey man, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Have you ever heard somebody say that? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, I would say, okay, yeah, but you know what? Don't sell short the destination. Don't sell short the end point. Don't sell short the X. Okay, so I was telling you a little bit about this idea that there's this beautiful X that I think God would love for us to have for our lives, that is that destination. It is that objective in life. It's just where we want to end up in life. And based on Abraham's life, I think this is what the X is. And I'll phrase it in the form of a question. Here's the question. The question is, what if the destination of our spiritual journey is a life of adventure and friendship with God? Do you remember me talking to you about Abraham being this archetype for us of faith? This idea that, Abraham's faith journey and our faith journey should look a lot alike. And so we see that Abraham's life, for sure, was this life of adventure and friendship with God. And it's something then that we can have for our lives as well. And it's really simple. And what could be better than that? Okay. So you're ready to start the journey? So here's the thing. For the coming weeks in this series is we're going to be kind of moving through a number of these different field notes that are going to help us in our spiritual journey. But what I have is something for us to do in the next 7 days between today and when we meet together again next weekend. Okay? And it's just what I want to challenge you is to pray one of two prayers. Okay, to pray one or two prayers, and you can choose which one that you think would be a better fit for you in terms of what you want to pray. Here will be prayer number one. God, if you're out there, would you reveal yourself to me? And this is a prayer for all of us who are not sure if God exists, but you're willing to find out. You're just kind of in that place. God, if you're there, would you reveal yourself to me? Now, how do you think God's going to answer that prayer? Well, I actually think that there might be three ways in which God does that. The three simple ways in which he might do that. Real quickly, here's what I have seen and experiences that I have seen is that God often reveals himself first of all, through the scriptures, through the Bible. That's often how he does that. And that's actually one of the reasons why is that every week in here at Terra Nova is that we open up the Bible and that we work through the Bible together, is because we believe that when we read God's word, he speaks to us. And he reveals himself to us. That's the first one. The second thing that we've seen, I've seen again and again, is that often God reveals himself to us through people. He sends people that are into our lives, into our path, and that God kind of shows up in the lives of the people that are around us. And so those are a couple of different ways that are very, very clear. The scripture, through people. And here's one way that God may show up and reveal himself, and that's through visions and dreams. Did you know that all throughout the world, we are just hearing stories about Jesus coming to people in visions and dreams? I know it's like, wow, okay, is that really a thing? Does it really happen? It's like, yes, it really appears to be something that happens, and so that might be one of the ways that God could reveal himself to someone that is searching for them. So that would be prayer number one. That would be a prayer that you may want to pray. And so like, okay, I'm going to pray that prayer. But here's a second prayer that you may want to pray. And that is this: God, what are we doing together right now? This is a prayer really for those of us that are following Jesus. I mean, this is a prayer that asks God to give us some clarity about just what it is that he's doing and where it is that he's leading us. If we're a follower of Jesus and Jesus is a leader, it would be then fair game to ask, say, God, just where are we going today? What are we doing together today? Recognizing that I have this friendship with God, and friends do stuff together. And that we also know is that God is always on mission, that God is always up to something, and we want to be up to the same things that God is up to. That there's something that is good, blessing that God wants to pour into my life and into the world. And so it's just a real simple prayer. It says, God, what are we doing together right now, this day? And what I want to encourage you to do is that every day, between now and next weekend, is that you would just pray that prayer each and every day. And as we do, you know what you're doing is that you're just starting where you are, and you're just going with what you know, and that we're just believing that God is going to just meet us in some beautiful ways as we just engage with him through prayer. And in fact, what I want to do actually as we end our time is just to guide you through a time of prayer as we close. So would you go ahead and bow your heads and let's just go ahead and seek God. And so the first way that I want to guide you is just to ask you just to share with God where you're at today, right now. That you just describe it. You just let him know the things that you're dealing with, thinking about, challenged with, struggling with. Just let God know where you're at. Say, God, this is where I'm at. And then would you take a prayer, and this is a motion prayer, a prayer where we just want to get in motion with God. And would you just pray a prayer asking God, saying, God, is there any place you want me to go? Or God, is there anything you want me to do? Would you pray that prayer and maybe just take a moment in this silence? Perhaps God will speak to you about that. All right, great. And then why don't we go ahead and try on these prayers. You can go ahead and pray this prayer, or just begin to pray this prayer. And it's prayer number 1. God, if you're there, would you reveal yourself to me? That you can just as honestly as you can, just pray that prayer. God, if you are there, would you reveal yourself to me? Or you want to pray prayer number 2. God, what are we doing together right now? What are we doing together today in this season? Would you show me as one friend relates and connects to another? And now, Lord, I just pray for each one of us that you would just give us the wisdom to know what to do, what we've just heard, and also the courage to do it. And Lord, I pray your blessing upon each and every person here. In Jesus' name, amen.